Once in a while we get the seasonal show that really hits and resonates with the fandom. But once that is over, the fandom feels a duty to just go back and check the classics out. The series that created the tropes that we see today that are critically acclaimed and hold pretty high. Yet again, there are a lot of classics that only few anime fans get around to see, and despite well-received acclaim and the great as they behold, they remain as hidden gems. An anime so powerful that makes you forget about anime as a whole and just be like, damn, this is a great story. That anime for me is Gangetsuo, also known as the Count of Monte Cristo. Despite being known from a lot of older anime fans and being majorly rated and acclaimed, I still find the anime majorly under-discussed. With the power of social media, we as a community managed to boost anime series right, left and center, but this treatment hasn't been offered to Gangetsuo. At its core, this video is a recommendation video, so let me get the obvious things out of the way. Gangetsuo is based from The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, one of the greatest European writers of all time. The Count of Monte Cristo novel is a big grand 18th century classic, and Gangetsuo is a 24 episodes adaptation of the novel, which is simply an interpretation of the characters, meaning, and the story. The characters are mostly the same, but many things are changed due to the novel just being too long for the anime format. Like changes in setting, now we take place in 5053, where the technology and the world has advanced beyond words. The obvious thing, if you noticed in this video so far, is, well, the Count is a badass and the animation is great. The likes of something you never seen before. The Count of Monte Cristo is a story about Albert and his journey to meeting the mysterious figure that is the Count of Monte Cristo, which the more we learn about him as an individual, the more the story shifts to a completely different route. The main theme of this anime explores the revenge, love, betrayal, redemption, injustice, but with a lot of minor detours in the way. One thing to note is that this anime has some of the best character writing this medium has to offer, and it's not even close. Beautiful character arcs, individual to their own, all mixed in this grander story that the author is trying to tell. The art is very unique. In many ways it sets a mood for everything. The art in itself is a way part of the world building that is meant to represent a richer side of France. I understand that the art can be acquired taste since it's truly too unique, but you will never see it again, and I'm glad once before I die I had to see a piece of work that looks like Gangetsuo. The scripting for the anime is extremely good. The character dialogue is very powerful. Since it's based out of Alexandre Dumas' novel, you would expect the characters to be formal in their wording, especially since they represent the intellectual high class of society, and in the anime it is perfect. Every time the Count speaks, I feel you can make a quote from it, and it just complements everything about the novel. When I firstly started this anime, I thought it was going to be an individual story about the Count and Albert, but the more I watched, the more I found out that so many characters explore so many different themes that are just connected by the bigger story of the Count. The first episode of Gangetsuo is to me one of the best first episodes in anime. One of the episodes that leave you wondering and yet question everything and keeps you going. The episode structure of the anime is amazing. Doesn't create a misleading less impression to bait the viewer into a plot twist to keep going, but it is honest with itself and its viewer, yet very attachable in the sense that this anime is one of the most binge-watchable show I have ever seen. I couldn't stop. Unless you start it on a busy day or you set an episode limit for yourself, you are not going to be able to stop. The amazing character individuality implemented into the story writing mixed with complex morality of our characters begs your viewer to create an emotional connection with more characters than just the main character. By the end, maybe the Count will be your favorite character because he is the middle puzzle to everything. but every single character will be appreciated. This anime has a lot to say, whenever it comes just in the form of character depth or commentary on a certain topic. You can say that the story-wise every single second of the series, from the halfway mark of episode 1 we meet the Count to the last episode, you realize that it was thought and strategized by the Count in every way, so he will never fail. The original novel by Alexandre Dumas is one of the best stories of revenge there ever was, or will ever be. A complex revenge story that takes the simple formats aside and replaces with a character depth and morality questions that don't just justify these acts but creates an interpretation of the artistic side for the viewer to decide. And I believe this 24 episodes anime adaptation of the novel not only complements the story very well, but has a lot to say on its own and adds a lot to the original novel as well. This goes without saying, but I have come to the conclusion that every single anime fan should watch Gangetsuo, The Count of Monte Cristo, the same way every person ever living should read The Count of Monte Cristo once. YouTube holds a lot of power when it comes to just boosting an anime in views, and when it comes to this anime there are so little small reviews, but for bigger videos is the obvious Big Gigok video, which was pretty funny and informative. But I feel a lot of people, including me back when it came out, just watched the video and jiggled a bit but never really watched the anime after it. But with credit, I'm sure some people have. There is also that video I found last week, which is short on views but it is fantastic. You should really check it out after this video. It's a great analysis that if I didn't convince you to watch Gangetsuo after this, that video will. Fair to say that I have a lot of love for this anime, to the point that I am willing to go to length for people to watch it, because due to the way it expresses itself, it has a very personal journey to me that I want to discuss it in length, which there is no way I can do without getting into heavy spoiler territory, but there is more to this video. Skip to the timestamp in the video if you haven't seen the anime yet, because I'm gonna get to spoiler territory right now. Assuming only the people that have finished the anime are here, let's talk about the juicy stuff. As we know, the last few episodes of the anime take a complete story alternative to the original novel and are heavily criticized by some. But to me, it's a genius move. I must mention that from now on, everything I say is my own personal interpretation of the story and characters and the themes of the series in the way I understood them. We are mainly going to talk about the episode 23 and episode 24 of Gangetsuo. Ferdinand, who at this point becomes the leading force of anarchy in his own city due to the Count's strategies, enters the final straw of revenge for Edmond. It's against his childhood friend Ferdinand, who is the initial motivation for this entire revenge that took place, the entire story. As they battle it out, the final battle results on the moment where Ferdinand holds Heidi and threatens Edmond that he's going to kill her. But Edmond's servant also has Albert in the same way. This results on Edmond shooting towards Albert, but his servant takes the bullet instead, which is pretty characteristic. Not to get into minor details, but one thing I love about Gangetsuo is how the anime shines even the smaller characters, and the two servants of the Count, Bertuccio was always the one to obey the Count fully, meanwhile Baptistin was always intended to be the one who wants to have the best interest for the Count, even if that doesn't align what the Count desires. And since he saw Albert's love for the Count, he gave what he believed for him. Ferdinand, at this point, who is in the ground and pretty much have a self-realization of everything that is going on and everything that he has done and how he just shot the woman he started this for in the first place, he regains his humanity. In the end of the day, Ferdinand is not the true monster, despite doing the wrong actions all the way. The true monster is actually the Count, who is full of vengeance to the end. Many series would just find a way out, but the Count of Monte Cristo, despite not trying to justify the action of revenge itself, it justifies the motivation of the characters to make a compelling story outside the right morals of the individual. The scene when Albert gives the speech almost reminded the Count of taking all these innocent lives and dragging into his his own selfish revenge, and he takes a step back as the monster inside him, known as Gangetsuo, takes the control to the end to the deal that they have done before it. Only Albert to give the final emotional moment and to lay the ignorant unconditional love he has for the Count. When the Count turns back to human, in that final moments he regains his humanity for the final time, as we see him die, and later Ferdinand joins his childhood friend to die together, as he well knows that the rest of the world won't accept him anymore, as the rest of the cast there survives. Which to me is a poetic callback for everything the series has been leading up until now. The final episode reminded me what the series is really about. The Count of Monte Cristo really is a story about two childhood friends, going through some of the most human moments they can and doing some of the most human stuff, sacrifice. One friend who gave up his own best friend to get love, and the other friend who gave up himself for his best friend. It is not just a parallel, it is a small story in a big world, which to me shows a lot about the nature of what it means to be human and to connect with others. It is poetic and strong, and the way I interpret it is beautiful in every way. To me, this is simply one of the best endings to any fictional work I ever had the pleasure of enjoying. Now we are back to the non-spoiler people. After you finish the Count of Monte Cristo, you just experienced a story that nailed telling you about the nature of humanity, what it means to have friends and what it means to give something for yourself and another. The reason why I consider the anime to add to the novel simply by being set in year 5053 tells to me a big story in a big world that might happen 3000 years from now. No matter how much humans develop superficially, we always have the same nature inside, but with great hope and desire to fight for what we love, through sacrifice of those who we love, will regain that same happiness we desire for them. There are many other inner stuff in the stories and the visuals of this anime which leads to a deeper narrative within, like the use of alcohol or the hint of drug use, and even worse actions which are hinted towards the story, and make sense for the final development of some of the characters, including our main characters. I have a personal connection with the story that tells me despite the superficiality of this world, there is a deep passion and desire in every heart to achieve something great. Don't let the circumstance determine where that passion go, but choose for yourself. It is truly an anime that remains as one of the few 10 out of 10s I have ever given. For those expecting me to mention the SGI, yes, it doesn't look the best, but I don't mind it. It is complemented by great visuals and I love the SGI as a whole. My favorite characters from the Count of Monte Cristo are the Count himself, Beppo, Heidi, Albert, Franz, Eugene, Maximilian, Baptism, Raoul and Ferdinand. It is easy to find humanity in a story about humans. I wish every single person that watched this video until here, which I don't expect this video to get that many views or to be anywhere good in terms of views, but even if one person checks the Count of Monte Cristo Gangetsuo anime, because of me I would be happy. And you will be offered one of the best stories you ever experienced from this medium in return. Thank you.